thank you for being here on the 22nd anniversary of my life as artistic director of the Asylum Theatre. When I was expecting my first kid, Zane, who's now in the back, and he's free for us, and he's going to be 22 in December, and I was 7 months pregnant with him. Thank you for being a family in Rita and Robert's life, and you created this space for us to come together. And I really think that at a time when we understand that some people do not understand how critical it is that the great work of people like Rita and these performing artists in this room and songs and poems and things you're going to hear today and content of the work, we're not here to preserve it as some sort of nostalgic exercise. We are here to keep the breath of life in the ideas and inspiration that could only have been forged with the hands of their own lives while they were with us. And they found a way to give shape and life and love that it takes to survive holocausts and pandemics and political strife and oppression and the silencing of voices. And they found a way to give their lives to making the work and sharing what they've learned in a way where here we are, able to continue that work, but no one's stopping us because a battle-born artist is one who embraces the beauty, the challenge, and the liberty of the desert. And here we are, so many artists later, and able to be a salvation for our friends Midwest. Those of you out there in South America, in the UK, and in Eastern Europe, in Kyiv, dear Alex and Toby Theater, Vero, thank you for being the true measure of the best of us, whether you're in the basement of your theater diving into bombs, or in the basement of that same space, creating theater associations like West Association with our partners around the world. There's almost 100 of us in these English-speaking theaters, in non-English-speaking countries and English-speaking countries alike, connected virtually and now producing and collaborating. The Asylum Theatre has commissioned an original work that's being written in partnership between Vero, who is the sort of director of the West Partnership that's bringing this streaming project to life, and a playwright in London at a theater called the Omnibus Theatre, which is down the street from where we usually tour. And they're actually doing a new version of Kafka, original work focused on from the trans perspective. And when we were first told that we would not be able to produce certain kinds of work in certain venues because of funding issues, the asylum is a haven for the work and the artists everywhere. And so I said, okay, well, that doesn't mean that the asylum can produce that work in London and in a war zone. Just because you say we can't produce it here doesn't mean we're not producing it here. So by your presence here, we are able to be a place of strength and create alternating currents of life and breath. And that is what brings people like Rita, people like Laura and Lucy. And so what makes this a bit more than a performance is for you guys to understand that the asylum, like all love, is an action. The theater is action. It only takes 3 things to commit an act of theater. Me up here, doing stuff to communicate a message. You there, witnesses, willing to be present and receive it. And the space between us where we decide together what it means to be present and put humanity in the center of everything we do. So, thank you, because the asylum is more than a show. This is the way. And this is the power that Sophocles and Aristotle And even though Plato didn't want us to have it, Plato too helped us discover what they found theater. And what I love about Las Vegas is that every day we understand that in the desert, life is a choice. And loving each other is just a better way to live it. So, with that said, thank you. And also, here I want to conclude with two more things. First of all, Rita didn't just give us her beautiful artwork and the inspiration of her ideas, she gave us her own poetry. And I thought that today, whether we're around the world, trying to believe in the promises that we have made to one another over the generations about freedom and hope, that you will know in this encounter and through this poem called Encounters by the artist Rita and Abbey, who also painted this beautiful mural behind you. And those friends around the world, someday please come to Las Vegas and we will welcome you here. She also wrote poetry, and this was one of her poems. And I thought, let's thank Rita for this encounter. Encounters. I never strayed here on my journey and linger a lot. If my steps had been vigorous, I would have missed that smile. I know you, yet I don't. What matter? Let's journey on together. For a while, anyway. Those two people, looking, sensing, touching. They know, yet they speak no words. And last opportunity to do is something I haven't done since I was in college, so I apologize. But I'm smart enough to do this before real professionals get. And thanks for all of the ancestors of our human spirit and our holy human spirit. And thanks for all of the lives we honor of those we have lost, but never will lose through the love we carry with us and in grief. And thanks for all of that, and in honor of my blessed grandmother Patricia, I'm going to offer you a song I sang to her when she died on my birthday, on April 22nd, at the age of 97, about 9 or 10 years ago. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come round where we ought to be, and where we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be the valley of love and delight, when true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed, to turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rita, and I have two Ukrainian poems for you today. The first one will be Famine by Nicola Kilovi. Sorry, I have the pronunciation here because I still miss it up, so forgive me. And then the next one is going to be A Stranger Lives My Life and Wears My Body by Bastille Stews. The horses have eaten the wood from the barn. Toward the steppe, the hot wind blows. The moan curls up the roads and homes. Terror grows. And the sun sharpens its tongue. And the sun deadly carves through the plants. Trembling dewdrops perish in sorrow. Misery runs. Shacks wander through the wasteland. A mournful creek looks after them. At the horizon, bound in purple. The dying thunder burns in sand. The endless skies look in confusion as pale-haired days are strung. The hungry dogs behind the barn eat the last year's lunch. A stranger lives my life and wears my body. It starts to seem he spends my years on earth instead of me. I have no eyes and ears, no mouth, no hands and feet. I am estranged inside my body, and, a lump of pain, I hover, shut in self in total darkness. At birth, your psyche ended up stark naked. You failed to graft together with your body. You did not manage to attain your flesh. A passerby who transcends interworlds, you stir, forgotten, at the very bottom of someone else's self. 100 nights await you, and 100 nights have died. You hover in between, a voiceless dog, white hot from self-inclined scorching pain, a speck of hell, the universe's scream, laconic and intense, devoid of exits. A shotgun pellet of the sun, you roamed and lost your bearings in this foreign body. You are still waiting for your birth. However, death entered your existence long ago. Thank you.
So then I actually worked deeper into it, and I found 200 pieces by Ukrainian composers, and I created a method. So if you want to listen to the entire thing, you can find it, you can search my name on any of the streaming platforms, and it's called the Ukrainian Afghan method. But today it's the Ukrainian hymn and the Ukrainian national anthem.
East, and it's here to last. I've prayed, I've chanted, I've tried every trick, but it feels like my sanity is sick. With each step I take, I'm losing my mind like a squirrel on caffeine. I'm in a bind. So, welcome to my monologue. It's sure to be fun. Let's laugh through the chaos, cause stress. I've just begun. I've prayed this morning. I've done my chants. I have said my mantras of good, amazing, and great. I'm good, I'm amazing, I'm great, I'm good, I'm amazing, I'm great. I'm not good, I'm not amazing, and I'm not great. I'm angry as hell. Because every day I get up, there's something that's being taken away. There's something that's being threatened. Everything that I love and hold near and dear is in jeopardy every single day. I got over the fact that we lost DEI. I understood that all of our historical artifacts were being carved away somewhere. I accepted that. But what has me today where I can no longer feel like I'm good, amazing, and great is that the other day in my classroom were 4 young nurses in training. They were so excited about embracing healthcare, about doing the tough part of the job. They wanted to work with cancer patients. They wanted to work in the ER. They wanted to work in hospice. And they were looking forward to it. What do we tell them now? That's what has me. This is what is bothering me. I don't feel good about what's going on right now. That's what I remember of the day I'm going to tell you about. So while I'm in the midst of this rage, I hear a voice. This is LA. And I'm thinking, I'm looking around, and I knew I shouldn't have had that second drink. Down and talking to myself. The voice said again, LA, what's wrong with you? Do you know that you're screaming? Wait. I'm screaming, but who are you? I shouldn't be asking the questions. Who are you? Why are you talking to me? And why are you here? And how did you get into my house? I'm here, LA, because your neighbors heard you screaming and cursing and ranting and raving, and they were worried about you, and they prayed, and I showed up. Okay, I'm really confused by this. LA, what's wrong with you right now? I can't find my balance now. Because part of me knows that I should be doing something. Part of me is afraid to do something, and the other part of me doesn't know what the hell to do about what's going on right now. This voice said to me, you know what? You need to go on a journey with me right now. I'm like, we're on a journey, where we're going. We're going to Ukraine. Ukraine! That's going to be quite a distance. Let me get my coat because it's cold. You don't need your coat. What do you mean I don't need my coat? Well, let me get my Bible. He says, no, leave that there because it's got too much dust on it. We don't want to take it. Oh, you got jokes too. Great. He says, what I want you to do is just stand quietly. Just stand still and close your eyes. So at first I closed both eyes and then I opened one eye because, oh my God, I was getting and then I'm thinking, if we're going to Ukraine, I'm standing up. For how many hours am I going to stand up going to Ukraine? Just trust me, okay? I closed my eyes. And in a few seconds, he said, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes and I saw a devastation that I can't even explain to you. I saw parts of buildings, I saw parts of children's toys, I saw appliances, and I saw music, and I saw things that no human being should see or endure. And I said, I can't take this. He said, close your eyes and go into another place. Gladly, I closed my eyes. He says, okay, open your eyes. Open my eyes. What do you see? I see a building. It's a nice looking building. I can see where it's had a little damage, maybe been shocked by a few bombs. He said, look again. What do you see? I see an abandoned building. He said, tell you what, let's go into that building. I said, oh no, I'm not going into that building because they're going to know that I don't belong here and that's going to create another. He says, you're not in your body. You left your body back home. You are now into spiritual projection. We're going to go inside this building. And we did, and I looked, the building is empty. Until we went down into the bunker. He said, look again, what do you see? I saw people wrapped up in coats. I saw people sitting side by side. And even though that they had gone into these bunkers, risking their lives, they were so happy to be together. They were happy to have this moment of pleasure, this moment of release, this moment where anxiety left away because they were sitting close to each other and they found the love and the solace, not as individuals, but as one. He says, look again, what do you see? I see people with smiles on their faces in the midst of all the adversity that they have experienced and might experience even in the process of us being here. I see people laughing. I hear musicians playing their instruments. I see people getting energetic because they're having this moment that they never thought they would have. I see people who want to honor their life by living it because living is the best job we're ever going to get. Look again, what else do you see? I see hope. I see survivorship. I see love. I see care. I see concern. I see a future. I invite you today, no matter what you're going through and what we're doing, to look again.
My name is Lindsay Spencer, and I'm going to be performing Asylum Theatre. first one is a loving kindness meditation. The time it takes to fill or drain a tub is just right for blessing the day. I lean against the cold tiles and close my eyes. 2 long breaths, then evenly until I feel the air swirl at the bottom of my lungs. May I feel safe. May I feel content. May I feel strong. May I live with ease. Then I turn my thoughts to the man I adore. He is sun-warmed stones and acrimony, kind in a way that I have feared impossible. I suspect that sometimes what goes unspoken weighs upon him, and even then his silence keeps me near. May you feel safe. May you feel content. May you feel strong. May you live with ease. Now I imagine my dear friend who I sat in the belly of the cave with, as months turned to a year, then 2, until the darkness of her postpartum and my complicated grief held tight, each giving the other her space to heal, only speaking to ask, more tea? May you feel safe. May you feel content. May you feel strong. May you live with ease. After work, I stop at the store exhausted. Using the cart to hold myself up, I see an elderly man straining on tiptoe to reach a glass jar containing giant white beans and tomato sauce. He reminds me of my grandfather who passed when I was small. Before I can offer to help, he has them in his hands. We make eye contact when he turns, and I love this stranger. May you feel safe. May you feel content. May you feel strong. May you live at ease. Just like this, we love the world, known and unfamiliar. How we love so hard where we can, wishing to see it at ease. This next poem is called Barefoot in Winter, and the star of the poem is my parents' beagle, who passed a short time after this, but this is the beagle that helped me get my first dog. So I think dogs are the best teachers on grace and gratitude. This year you find yourself in your parents' driveway in your nightgown and your dad's two big shoes as a guy from your childhood drives by in a red pickup truck. Snow is all around. The beagle is running laps at the front yard. For a moment, you were overcome with tenderness. An old man you loved dearly once told you how he unexpectedly fell in love with the neighbor's wife one morning as he was looking out the window and saw her as he'd never seen her before. The side door to the house opened as she stepped into the morning light to take out the garbage. She was barefoot, he continued. Barefoot, in her nightgown. A sublime look crosses his face. She was the most marvelous thing I had ever seen. They raised their children on the same street, but he had never seen her like this. Before this day, he must have seen her so many times at the university. He never told her, and he never told me how he told her husband. You try to call the beagle and he won't turn. He sits near the periwinkle which peeks through a thin layer of snow at the edge of the driveway near the moss-covered oak. His face remains outward, so you take another moment to see what you can see. And my final poem is called Mojave in July. You can't explain to friends from home how the desert makes it better, but you try. Imagine a heat so dry that it presses down into the earth, releasing its scent so that it takes on the comforting smell of clay pots in your grandmother's kitchen when you were a child. Or your hideout under the evergreens where you used to sit for hours smelling only the dirt, the sap, the pine. Imagine a smell that reminds you of the kitchen on holidays, sage, rosemary, and something you chase that is reminiscent of honey but feels like love. Some people still fight They call the heat oppressive, they call it unrelenting. They have not learned how to live within it. You must learn to smell the water beneath the surface. You must learn to let the heat pass through you, warming your bones, your ligaments, and all the pieces that you call you. Let the heat draw out everything unneeded. Let it put you to bed midday. Let it make you new. Thank you.
This is a slow movement from a flute sonata. Good afternoon. My name is Deanin, Washington. Washington is from my father, and we have as a family from a founding father and slave owner of our king. Deanin is a Thai name, which means lady philosopher. And I get that from my mother. This is an excerpt of my solo show, Mother Tongue, which I wrote for her. Thank you to Sarah for indulging, and all of you. This is a rather extended excerpt of that. The garden incident. Recently, we had a pipe burst in our backyard. It was maybe the first night of sleep that I got. I was really good, and I was out. I get this knock just before 6 in the morning, and I have this thing about my sleep. If it's interrupted, I am instantly disturbed. My aunt is like, "There's water going off in the backyard." And I'm like, and so I throw on some clothes, I go outside, and sure enough, the water is arcing. What should I do? What should I do? I had called the water company, but because it's before office hours, I get the emergency line. Finally, I get through to somebody after the prompts and the buts. Actually, a really kind woman. So she pulls up my house on the computer, and then she asks me some questions. It's the sprinkler system, because in the middle of talking to her, the water shuts off. So it's no longer hemorrhaging water, thank God. And she's like, "Do you happen to have a gardener?" First world problems. And I say, "Yes, we have a gardener." And she walks me through what I should be looking for and what I should say to him. I write a check for this gardener every month, so I know his name, but I don't know his number. It's never occurred to me to get his number because my interactions with him are perfunctory at best. He is a part of all the previous decisions made about the house that precede me being the so-called owner of this house. Decisions made by my mother or even my stepfather. And he's been dead for 10 years. I live in a museum to two dead people. In my avoidance, I do the minimum that I have to do to keep everything running. Anything that involves making new decisions or really making the decision to stop is too painful. I think to myself, I just paid this person last week, and so he's not due to come for at least another week, and I'm going to be wasting water every time that timer goes on. But when I think about where his phone number likely is, I think it's got to be in my mom's address book because my mom was completely analog. And then I have this clear new task: find mom's address book. But I know that her address book lives in one of these zones of the house that I have been avoiding, like her desk or her room with her drawers in her closet, her dressers, her bags, her purses, right? I've been in my mom's room many times since she died. I keep it neat. I keep it vacuumed. There are great windows, and so there's great sunlight, so I propagate plants in there. I keep a string of Christmas lights on, plugged in, so it's never completely dark in there. The fan circulates. All stuff to keep some kind of energy going. It's not the room I avoid. It's all of these containers that we call furniture. was when she was last there. And it's also a very effective way for me to punish myself. I need to find this number. And I immediately realized I cannot do it alone. But who can I say this to? Who's going to understand that looking for an address book, a freaking address book, 3 years after my mother has died is terrifying? It's the middle of the workday. Grief breakdowns between the hours of 9 and 5 are inconvenient. So who can be my emergency line? I call my friend Rita, and she doesn't pick up. And I just want to immediately dissociate and go away and be in my phone or turn on the TV, not feel what I'm feeling, which has something to do with the fact that this is not my decision to make. This is not my dream house. This is not the dream house I built for myself after decades of hard work. It's hers. And it's not fair that I have to do this by myself. Why have to murder? Why have to we live in Las Vegas? And while it covers barely a third of our backyard, it uses so much water. And I just pay for it. I just pay for it. Every month, like I do so many other bills. So I don't have to think about whether or not I should get rid of it. And then, Rita saves me by calling me back. She's able to distract me just enough to let me focus. It's like she's looking into the room, body doubling me. And this is why she was the perfect person for me to call. Because she talks to me about her grief. There's this book I referenced earlier in my show called What's Your Grief? And I got it from my friend Rita because she bought it for herself. You see, her father has ALS. And every time she sees him, there's less of him. And it will be the thing that takes him anticipatory. But somehow that was so much easier than dealing with seeing her mother becoming a completely different person by being with him every day. Ambiguous grief. Both of her parents are doctors. One of them is succumbing to this disease, and the other one is powerless to stop it. And Rita orbits it all, living in another city, yet another only daughter who is the emotional anchor for her mother. She and I are tethering one another across phones, and in the back and forth, we actually laugh where we can. I flash back to those very cool months before my mother died. And Rita knows she's never going to experience the parents that she has known and loved them ever again. I experience relief that my parents are gone, and then a horror at that relief that they're gone. I oscillate between pity for her and despair that I'm alone, envy that she has them, and peace that the rest is silence, all while I go through this back. And that guy, all alone, this one with the flowers, hand-painted that she got from talent. It's not in there. Gift makeup bags from Estee Lauder. Mom kept neat and clean for years of reuse. It's not in there. 3 years out, people don't really ask me about my mom anymore. Most everyone knows she's dead. I ran into an ex at some event, and he asked me how she was. They really adored one another. And it was like the first time I had been asked in ages, and I had this strange sort of glee, watching the blood run from his face when I told him that she died, because he was freshly hurt. And it meant that somebody could be freshly hurt by her loss. It's the leather bag that she brought from Italy. This was the same trip that rude white woman that thought that I was adopted. Says so right to my mom's face over dinner. Like, is she adopted? She is my daughter. It's not in there. I go through her drawers. Top drawer makes sense, stars, costume jewelry, not in there. Rita reminds me not to think of where things were as my mom arranged them, but how I sat there preparing the room for her hospice care. We had to push Mom's bed all the way to the wall to make space for a medical bed, something much smaller and less comfortable than her queen. There's all of these sorts of indignities, all these compromises. You have to weigh the dignity of the person that's ill or dying against what is going to be efficient and keep you sane as a caregiver, what will be sustainable for you both. The medical bed has a plasticized mattress, like for kids who wet the bed, for the same reason. The medical bed and its frame were mechanized to elevate and lower to make sure it was safe for her to take her medication. These strange indignities so that she could keep her dignity, keep her clean, keep her safe. Before the fall, I would already help bathe my mom. She would do most of it herself, but she would get so cold so easily, and she liked me helping her. She was like Goldilocks. Water would get too hot, but then it won't get too cold. Needed to get just the right water temperature. I would rinse her hair and help her shield her eyes. I remember when she used to do that for me. I'd set her here, so as soon as she got out of the bath, there was a series of towels. One for her to step on, one to wrap her body, another to drape her across her head and shoulders, so she could move right from the bathroom to the zone of heat. It was like working for a celebrity. Navigating her through the paparazzi kind of thing, getting her from the car into the venue. Nothing is either. My mom was not great with music. However, the instant she heard Outcast, she kept it in her head for these times out of the bath. I tried to get her to invite her friends over to the backyard where it was safe to socially distance and have company. But you're my friend, she replied. I've become all these things to my mother. Occupied all these spaces for her. I was her daughter, and she had become my best friend. Then I became her caregiver. And so in a way, I was like her partner or her mother in ways that made me feel trapped. After she died, I realized she occupied all these spaces for me. My mother was my child, and maybe the only child I will ever get. I remember the last time it was the morning she died, and I worked with the hospice nurse on that medical bed. We undressed her, got her completely nude, and bathed her by hand. And I thought to myself, my God, her tits are perfect. Here she is, this woman in her 70s, who just had perfect titties. My mom and I were obsessed with each other's titties and boobies. Once we got her dressed in clothes that I had picked, folks from the temple came to visit. The head abbot was overcome and squeezed my hand. I had known him for decades, and this was the first time we ever touched. And if you know anything about Theravada Buddhism, that is the biggest deal. one of my mother's friends, in the most Asian way possible, took a photo of my dead mother's body to show later to her daughter. This is what I want when I go. Made to be is such a dutiful daughter. It wasn't in the bedroom at all. It was on the desk. This other zone I had been avoiding because papers. And it was actually right there under some bills that had long since been paid. The address book! And I flipped through it. My mom had the most beautiful handwriting, both in English and in Thai. Her scripting should be a font. It was just so like her, so precise and thoughtful. Careful, beautiful, graceful, without equal. Each line stroke was just art. In the years before the fall, she had developed Parkinson's, so her older entries had a stronger, firmer, more confident hand, but even the entries after her diagnosis still have that level of care and craftsmanship. And all of these people were new to her. They mattered in some way. And sure enough, there's an entry for the gardener. I am triumphant! By this time, Rita and I had been on the phone with each other for several hours, and she celebrated right along with me from the other end of the phone. And then I just burst into tears. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Heather Klein. I'm going to sing a song called Take Care of This House. I need to emotionally come down. So big. There are many ways to think of a house and how to care for it. And we all have different ideas of what home is. So I hope you'll take this moment and
a secret chord that David played, and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do ya? Well, it goes like this: 4, 5, minor fall, and make you lift the battle sheet, composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You say I took the name in vain. I don't even know the name, but if I did, really, what's it to you? There's a blaze of light in every word. It doesn't matter what you heard. It's the holy and the broken. Hallelujah. 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 I did my best. It wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I learned to touch. I told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I stand before the Lord's throne with nothing on my lips but hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
a resident playwright, translator, director, superstar, who I work with. And she is actually directing and rehearsing for a public fit across town, which is the only reason she's not here with us tonight, physically. But Gigi not only writes and directs and performs, but she's also a poet, and she has a poetry book that's going to be coming out this spring published, so we're excited about that. But I asked her if it would be, with her permission, to read a poem that we gave to our audience at the Asylum Reflections on Refuge event, which was the event that we created with the war, the most recent war broke out in Ukraine, when Kyiv was under attack. And we first connected with our friends at Asylum Theatre, a playwright from our network who we had produced. We had done a production of Veils, which is a Middle Eastern play. When the bombs started to fly, I know we always have artists in trouble. So I put out a call and said, where are our people at under there? And he put me in touch with Pro English via Facebook Messenger while they were in the bomb shelter. And so we started communicating and pledging support within the earliest couple of weeks of the war. And we have stood steadfastly by their side. Every step, the asylum raised money, was able to send them a portable power station, solar powered, so it keeps the lights on. When the lights go out in heat, they still continue the theater. And this solo play day event is the second annual one. They initiated this after we came together, and we started to find friends in other parts of the world, and came together with West World English-Speaking Theaters Association, is the group we founded. And after we connected with them, I had an opportunity at the Winchester Center, thanks to Irma Varela and the Clark County Public Arts, to have a spot, an impromptu spot, and we gathered members of the asylum community who were artists to perform. And Gigi created what is, what they call an erasure poem. She had a text that she found a poem in. And what makes this poem so special and connected to Ukraine is that her grandfather, Rafael Pisano, for those of you who don't know, was a diplomat in the Colombian government before World War II and throughout. And then after World War II, when they were deciding what kind of country Colombia would it be socialist, democratic, and they chose democracy. Her grandfather, who had been Western educated and had negotiated a treaty that had prevented a bloodshed, so he was known to be well-cultured and connected to the West. They asked him to found Colombia's national radio. And he brought classical music to Colombia and public radio to Colombia to educate the indigenous populations and mostly to get people into a democracy state of mind. And he left his diplomatic life and he started to write radio plays, and he founded Colombia's National Theatre using his plays and started to stage them. And he wrote poetry, and he's considered the great master of Colombia, and he was completely unknown because he was not translated to English. And that is how I met him. She had learned how to translate plays so she could learn what her father's plays said. And that is how Gigi came to this asylum. So what we try to do is liberate and connect and open the ways for possibilities. And we had the opportunity to bring the asylum singing community together and perform, and we were able to Zoom in Pro English to perform for our audience over Zoom. And while we were actually being bombed, we found out later that the reason why we were having internet connection problems is we were being bombed. This was in June when they first reinitiated. So my gratitude for them is A, for still surviving here, for choosing humanity, for not giving up the thought that your theater friends would come back and answer the call. Because we know that as human beings, we know that there's always someone out there who's hoping that we're looking and asking, have we got everybody? Who's out there, right? So, her grandfather dedicated his life to the advice he gave people and the diplomats in power in peacetime. And his work, he wrote a lot about war, a lot of essays about war. She turned one of his essays about war into a poem called Generosity. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for the lifetime of skill and practice and dedication it takes to give us music of this caliber and performance. We're all the culmination of everything that's ever happened to us that we embody and know. We are the information. And it's the recognition of what we know that's true about each other that makes it feel like we're passing something along. But it's not coming from computers. It's coming from our recognition of what we know and how we share it. So thank you for your generosity. It has survived. We have survived because of Holocaust and art and everything it takes to survive the unbearable pain in order to be surrounded by the ones you love and feel the joy in it. So, thank you, Shishiki Sato, for this poem of generosity written after Raphael Kisato's work on war. Generosity, kindness of spirit, most cordial instinct. Generosity of the soul, benevolent impulse, practice unknown to men whom form antagonisms. Suck the sap that favors differences, pits open in which the blood and pain of man are sown. Sympathy needs generosity to shelter, protect, encourage, for when the era of peace returns, the spirit of generosity, branded as weak, disposed to forgiving and forgetting, guides an evolution toward fraternity. Soul tattooed with humility, not easily erased. Be generous. Revalue it. Elevate the words and words destined to end discord. Consider great those gestures that correspond to cordial impulses